everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be starting off a new little series that is inspired by LavenderTowne's video that was called Letting My Tarot Decide What I Draw. So because I have multiple different tarot decks and oracle decks now, I figured that this would make a fun sort of series to do. So I will of course link her original video down in the description, as well as the tarot deck that I decide to use in this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into selecting what cards will decide what I will be drawing. And I hope you guys enjoy this video and seeing my face for a change. Yeah, so let's get into it. Alright guys, so the deck that I will be using for this video is my very much OG deck, the very first one that I ever had, and I've had it for many years. And it was all by its lonesome until quite recently when I've reignited my interest in the tarot and my passion for it and like learning more about it. So this deck in particular is the Shapeshifter Tarot, which is done by DJ Conway and Ciarra Knight, and then the illustrations are by Lisa Hunt. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce any of that. And for the most part, I would say, like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this deck for like a beginner, like very beginner, because it is kind of untraditional in that it has, although it has cards that relate back to the traditional sort of tarot, there are a couple that don't, and then a lot of it is based around Celtic mythology and such, so it's a bit untraditional like that. So, but the illustrations are all super pretty, so if you feel drawn to this deck, then I definitely encourage you just to continue and get it anyway, because it's really a nice one to have. So I'm just gonna go ahead and shuffle it. So if you're familiar with LavenderTowne's channel, because that's where this idea comes from, and again I will link her video down below, how she went ahead and did this was that she pulled 3 cards from her deck. The first card would describe the sort of theme, mood, you know, of the card, while the second one would describe the character, and then the last one would describe the environment. So I'm definitely going to follow along with that. And also, because I have these multiple decks with all these different kind of illustrations and styles to them, I'm going to try to work around like sort of the overall, like, I'm not going to copy the art style, but like that's like, since this is the Shapeshifter Tarot, I might try to like go for something kind of shapeshiftery or in that nature, you know? So what is our overall mood? Let me zoom in here. So our overall mood is this card, Fire Element, which is for merging, and that is the element of swords in the traditional. And then, oh sweet, the character we have is the moon. Oh, that's exciting. Of course, this one carries over from the traditional deck and even still keeps the same name. And then finally, our environment is Mastery, which is the earth element. So let me go ahead and look up what each one of these means and give you a little bit more detail about what's going on. Okay, so the overall, I'll get more into detail probably over once I start working on everything, but the sort of quick synopsis of everything. So since this is our overall theme and stuff, this card has to do with sort of the merging and gaining multi-dimensional awareness, you know, connection, empowerment, convergence, dreaming. So definitely want to do something that's sort of, got an overall theme of sort of maybe like 2 worlds colliding, which I think also could work well with the moon card, since the moon has to do with, you know, psychic abilities, deceptions, and all that kind of stuff. So something involving that with the characters. And then for Mastery, overall, like, I would say most of the sort of environment imagery is just going to come from the card itself, since we have this, you know, pretty oak tree, we got some, you know, pool of water, so something kind of like that maybe is what we'll go for. But we'll see. Let's see how this shapes up in the sketching stage. Alright guys, so let's get into how this all went down, creating this piece. So I started off by, after selecting the 3 tarot cards, I went ahead and wrote down some of like the main keywords for each one, so to better sort of outline what I was thinking about. And what you're seeing here on screen right now is something I don't normally show in any of my art videos, and that is me working on the thumbnailing for this specific piece. I didn't actually record the official finalizing the sketch, just because that takes a little more time and more erasing and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it would be fun to show sort of my thumbnailing and the various different ideas that I had going into this piece. So one of the main things I was thinking about was sort of like this mask idea because of the moon, like specifically for the characters, because the moon is the whole deception thing. And then somehow having, you know, like one character is kind of more otherworldly than say the other one, to get that that sort of different colliding worlds aspect of the other card. As far as environment, I don't know how well I did really sort of capturing the environment from the one piece. I think the more environment I caught actually was from the moon card than the one that I selected, but I tried to sort of have that idea of just like a lot of trees in like nature and the woods and all that sort of in the background of this piece. And overall, this piece took me so long to finish. Like, I didn't even record like the full process. I was doing little snippets of it because it was taking that long to finish. Like, it was driving me nuts. So overall, I will say that I did learn a lot from doing this piece, and a lot of things that, especially like when it came to the background, which you're seeing me working on right here, is I do like sort of the idea of how I was doing the trees, which is that one watercolor technique that I've been working on practicing and needing to practice more, and that is sort of the idea that you start light and then you sort of build up with these darker layers, and like each darker layer you're carving out more of the scenery, kind of in a way to explain it. But I think where I went wrong with the background was needing to sort of not jump into the trees as soon as I did, but work more on the atmosphere of sort of that first initial wash layer, so that would come together. This is definitely a piece that I feel like I'll probably revisit sometime in the future and redraw, just because I really like the concept of it, but there's certain portions of it that I wasn't exactly sure how to go about doing. But I mean, it was definitely, I don't hate this as the first go of this piece. And then just like, I have to talk a bit about the perspective on his arm. I don't know why. Of all the thumbnails that I picked, I had to pick the one with the weirdest perspective possible, because as you can probably start to see, it's sort of, I had this concept of this sort of otherworldly fae kind of character pulling her through this sort of portal that's made up of like these twisted tree limbs kind of thing. Again, I think something I will be doing sometime here soon in the future is I want to write like a little short story about like this scene and like the characters right here, and then I'll probably put that up on my Patreon. So if you'd like to check that, like keep your eye out for that, definitely, you know, go check out my Patreon. Become a patron if you feel so inclined. I have the 1 tier up there right now that's just $1. That gives you access to everything I have up there so far, but I will be adding, you know, higher tiers with more rewards fairly soon, hopefully. But as far as this piece goes, like that's definitely something I think would be fun to do, because this does have a very like storybook kind of feeling to it. And it was funny because I was sharing sort of the process and some of the behind the scenes of this piece with some of my online art peeps, and they were immediately thinking of like Hades and Persephone, which I can definitely see that coming out. I love that story personally, so I'm not surprised that the sort of undertone of these characters is very much like that. I've also just been in a very like fairy fantasy mood anyway, as you'll see soon enough from one of my upcoming videos reviewing the Cruel Prince book, because I've already finished that book at the time of recording this voiceover, so definitely expect to see my review for that fairly soon. But getting back to the piece here, I had no idea what to do with their dress. I kind of just, I don't know, I couldn't decide if I wanted it to be pink, and then, you know, she's a redhead, and I thought, oh, the pink dress, is that a little bit too, like, Ariel, in a sense, you know what I mean? So it's like, I was like, oh, let me throw some blue on here. So now all I can think of is, like, from Sleeping Beauty, when they're fighting over what color to make her dress, and at the end it like becomes splattered pink and blue. But I just went with that anyway, because I don't know, I don't hate that idea. I think, again, like, the dress is one portion of this that is something I would want to, when I go back to sort of redraw this piece at some point in the future, to work on and maybe change into something different. Because I was using a reference from Pinterest of this sort of like pink flowy dress for the basis of what she's wearing, my character here. I think I would change that and maybe into something darker, maybe more dreamy, like a dark dreamier, not so much like a light pastel version of that. As far as his outfit went, I definitely liked using this one green. It's a Daniel Smith watercolor that I have called Cascade Green. And so what's interesting about it, since it is a granulating watercolor, it sort of does this weird thing where it will be like really dark green, and then it will have these weird sort of pops of blue, and I really like that sort of interesting effect on his outfit. And then with the sash, I kept it white because, as you'll see, I'll add this with my metallic gold Fintex, sort of a gold shiny pattern over his white sash, and then also the mask that he is wearing. Some other things that I wasn't sure, like, I just went with it as I worked on it, was the sort of the gateway itself. I put down, you know, a basic layer of brown because I wanted to stand out from sort of the trees in the background. I didn't want it to seem like the same sort of trees that are happening back there, but something different, and to stand out again along with the characters. And so I put the basic layer on that. I also put the basic watercolor layers on both the characters, and then I went in with my Micron fine liners. I actually used a brown one for his hair, and I used that same brown one for the tree limbs, or the gateway of the tree, and then the sort of mushroom ring that she's standing in. Because that's definitely something I wanted to add in, was sort of the mushroom ring, or the fairy ring, because sort of the mythology with that is if you step into the fairy ring, you'll be pulled into sort of the fairy realm. That's why you don't step in a fairy ring sort of idea. So I liked sort of combining both of those concepts with also the gateway. I also used my black microns, which my 01 nib micron is totally dying on me, but I kind of use that to my advantage with some of the inking here, because it doesn't have as much ink. It's kind of more scratching, so I can get a little bit of a different control with how I do my line. And then after sort of lining everything in certain ways, I of course added in my Copics to sort of add more definition to certain things, especially using the grays to add more of that sort of 3D dimension. And then here you'll see me adding on those gold metallic details onto his earring, the mask, and then of course the sash. I really like adding the metallic fine tech details. I also added with a metallic gel pen a couple sort of like sparkly silver details on her dress. I'm not sure if I would do that again, but again, this was very much a experimental piece, I feel, out of most of the other ones I've ever done. But because of that, I think I've learned a lot, especially on certain things that I want to do again, and some things I want to practice more, especially in regards to the background. That's something I definitely need to work on more, but it was very fun to do the trees. I think that's one of my favorite parts of this piece was doing the trees, and then also his hair. I really like doing his hair. It doesn't have, like, I definitely could have gone more sort of in depth, I guess, to like the shadows and the dimensions, trying to make the hair look a little bit more like 3D, but I decided to sort of stray away from that because I wanted it to seem like his hair was maybe glowing in a sense, or just like something was odd, something odd about his hair, that it's different from maybe her hair, something more ethereal maybe, I guess. But here I'm just showing like those details. If you can tell, this voiceover is not scripted in any way. I'm just rambling on however I want. But yes, that is the process that I went through doing this piece, letting my tarots decide what this piece would be. I think, again, I like it overall, and I will definitely be trying it again sometime here in the future. So, with that said, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing this process for this piece. And remember to like and subscribe if you would like to see more art videos like this. And yeah, guys, I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.